on today's episode of Phinside The NFL. Do NFL teams not view the Miami Dolphins as a threat, especially come January? Well, an article from The Athletic sure seems to indicate that's the case. The Miami Dolphins have released their first depth chart of the regular season. A few surprises, but not really. We'll talk about it. We will break it all down. Plus, we'll talk about Chop Robinson, give you some injury updates and outlooks for this week, and a whole lot more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
You have got to be kidding me.
Jaylen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score. Deep upfield on the near side, man open. Touchdown. The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown.
He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. And I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through this evening. Man, we are just 5 days away from kickoff for the Miami Dolphins. We are Jaylen Ramsey days away, baby. Man, you know, and you can feel the footballs in the air. My youngest went back to school today. My oldest goes back to school tomorrow. I mean, you already had Monday as a holiday because of Labor Day, and they decide to give my oldest, who's going into grade 1, a PA day on a Tuesday. What are we saying here? So, kids are back. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Your boy took the family out yesterday. Yes, I have a 3 and a 6-year-old that like sushi and like that whole Japanese culture and the food. And we went out for sushi last night, and I'm still feeling the effects of that, man. We made sure it was all you can eat. Holy boy. So pardon me if, you know, my indigestion happens to pop up a few times here today. So shout out to all of you for coming through. Daddy Dean says, Reason, are you doing fantasy football? Yeah, man. I already made a post. All right. I made a post on the community tab for channel members only, and I made a Patreon post as well. I opened 2 leagues. They've been filled up. I actually filled the last spot today with Brad Martin. Shout out to Brad Martin because I see him in the chat. All you can eat is, listen, brother, it was high. It's a high-end place, though. So it was like $45 a person. Kids, it's like $3 per age. So like my youngest 3 was $9. My oldest 6 was 18, and then me and my wife $45 a person. We ordered like 45 or 46 things because it's one of those things where you order at the table and they bring it to you. It's crazy, but it was absolutely fantastic. So I don't really do raw, brother. You know, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. Oh, definitely better than gas station sushi. Like, it's a pretty high-end sushi place around us. So, yeah. So, and you know what's crazy? Because it's a Japanese place. Their chicken wings, and it's just like a slightly spicy dry rub. Unbelievable. And it's all you can eat, but it's bring it to the table, fresh made to order. So like servers bring it. So like, for example, the chicken wings comes in 3 pieces. They bring it on a plate to your, it's not like, you know, everyone lines up like pigs at a trough and everyone's just pulling from the same. It's not like that. It's like you order off a tablet, they make it fresh and bring it out. So, it's public sushi half off Wednesday. I don't know about that. Brother, my wife is all about the spicy tuna roll. All about the spicy tuna roll. See, I'm not a big tuna guy. So, you know, like I got the dynamite roll. They have this sweet and sour chicken roll, sushi roll. I got spicy California roll, so crab meat, right? So like I'll deal with crab meat. So public sushi all day. I've never had public sushi. So listen, I'm coming out there. Here's the deal. I'm coming out there in November for the Raiders game. All right. I want all of y'all that are going to be at the tailgate, link up. Ball game's coming down with me. I think Richmond's flying out for it. All right. And the homie Jennifer's going to be there too. I think Britt's going to come for it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I know Jennifer's going to be there too. So it's going to be a wild one. All right. Anyways, I say all that to say this. I'm coming in on the Saturday. I'm making sure I'm hitting a Publix. I got to get that. I got to get that chicken tendies sub. I got to try it. Dad, there are no spots left. I didn't do paid leagues this year, so it's not like you're missing out. I'm taking it easy this year. I'll be back to paid leagues next year. So, but yeah, it's filled up, brother. And I posted that days ago. So when I was talking to people in the video saying I was going to post it, so my bad, bro. I did it on a first come first served basis, and I only opened it to channel members and Patreons. I didn't even open up to subscribers. So I made a community post like I said I would, and I made a Patreon post like I said I would. I had to be fair. So Publix fried chicken is fire, huh? Okay. I like fried chicken, man. I even like fried chicken from, we got a lot of Jamaican spots up here. Like, I'm going to tell you this right now. Man, this is a football show. We're talking about snack. My favorite snack, no matter what, is Jamaican patties. Now, I know some people don't know what Jamaican patties are. They're basically pastry, these pastries, and then, spiced beef in the middle of it. Man, and I'm a mungie cake. I'm Caucasian, as you can see. So I'll put some ketchup on there, and I can Jamaican patties. I love me some jerk chicken. I love me oxtail gravy. I love all rice and peas. I love all that. But Jamaican patties, that way to my heart. Way to my heart. All right, Jamaican patties are a way to my heart. I love them, and yes, I'm a mungie. I will dip them in ketchup. I don't care. But Jamaican patties, man. No matter what you're craving or feeling, Jamaican patties always slap. So that's where I'm at. Man, what are we talking about here? Trent Williams, he got extended today. All right. I mean, I don't know if you've heard what Brandon Aiyuk has come out and said, but Brandon Aiyuk has actually come out and admitted that negotiations went longer and were tougher. He basically took responsibility, did Brandon Aiyuk. Sorry. But anyways, it's crazy. 3 years, $82.66 million, 48 at signing, a $25.69 million signing bonus for Trent Williams. Wow. He's the third highest paid lineman in the NFL right now, but he earns more cash than any this year. Trent Williams getting paid. Listen, the things Mike McDaniel did with him, absolutely fantastic. And, Chris Forrester and Kyle Shanahan, they really turned that man around. And, people forget Trent Williams, people were calling him washed up, over the hill. Not just saying a lot of positive things about Trent Williams when he left Washington to come to San Fran, and they rejuvenated him and they brought him back to the upper echelon. Trent Williams, man, I'm telling you. And that's why I love Terron Armstead when he's healthy, because when Terron Armstead's healthy, Trent Williams is number one. Terron Armstead, when he's healthy, I mean, you're talking about a top three, top five tackle. He can do a lot of the stuff that Trent Williams did in San Francisco. The issue we have is the interior, and we're going to get into that today. I mean, hey, if you haven't had a chance to check out the last video, it was a film study. I broke down the film. I explained why I feel more comfortable with Andrew Meyer starting at center if Aaron Brewer is out than Liam Eichenberg. Not only are we talking about traits-wise in terms of athleticism, hey, his effort, right? His foot speed, his power, his ability to push off the line of scrimmage, plus he's just a natural snapper because he's been playing the position. All those things aside that I like better for Meyer than I like for and working in space. All those things that I like better for Meyer aside, I think Liam Eichenberg's a better option at right guard than Lester Cotton. I think Lester Cotton's a disaster. I don't see what they see in Lester Cotton. See, here's the issue here, okay? I agree. Can scheme elevate? Can coaching elevate? 110%. I agree, especially with the minds we have involved in Butch Barry, all right, in Frank Smith, and Mike McDaniel. 110%. I agree, Ken. But here's the thing. What you want to do with that is you want to get average, right? You want to get average players. So we know center and tackles matter to them, right? Like remember, I was the biggest Austin Jackson detractor when we drafted him. But when we got Mike McDaniel, what am I on record as saying? He's going to fix Austin Jackson. Why? Because he got poor man Trent Williams traits, right? And he's still young, developing his anchor, developing his power. I said he's going to fix him. Liam Eichenberg was the one where I was like, I don't know about that, because when you look at the athleticism, you look at the foot speed, you look at the lack of power and anchor, you just look at the technique. I don't think so, right? And we're seeing kind of, we're going to find out this year what the deal is. My Lord, imagine if we're sitting here next offseason talking about an extension for Liam Eichenberg. But I digress. Here's the thing. Can scheme elevate? Yes. Can coaching elevate? Yes. The problem is you are trying to elevate with scheme and coaching below average guards. It's not like you're taking average guards and saying, let's get you above average. No, we are getting below average guards and asking them to be, and trying to coach them up just to be average, just to be competent. Whereas you could already get an average competent guy, and then now you coach him up, right? You coach him up, you let him thrive in the scheme, and all of a sudden you got above average or good. Now you're hitting, right? Because you signed him as an average player, so on a cheap deal, or you drafted him in the mid rounds because he's average, right? Then you elevate that. Why are you trying to elevate below average into average and competent? You're wasting your time, in my opinion. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. Lester Cotton, he's not good. Robert Jones had a very rough preseason when you break down the film. And the one thing that I can say about Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones, and Lester Cotton, their effort is piss poor. Piss poor effort. If they whiff, if they miss, if they overextend, they overstep, their effort to get back into the play or for a second effort on the play is so piss poor. You see it all the time. And that's something above anchor. That's something different than anchor. That's something different than power. That's something different than technique. That's all about right here. So, that's my issue. I'm watching Lester Cotton, Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg whiff on their assignment and then either put their back to the play or turn around but I'm watching Meyer, right? A guy catches him on his heels a little bit. What does he still do? Right? Gets his hands inside, squares him as best as he can, and runs him out of the lane. Right? Just runs him down and out of the lane. Then Jaylen Wright gets hit group of bodies accumulate at the line of scrimmage. Everyone's trying to push Jaylen right for extra yards. Here comes Meyer from 5 or 6 yards back from the line of scrimmage, running to trying to push. Or look at Meyer in open space, right? Helping Barrios with the block, finding a hand, and then still getting out ahead and staying out ahead of the runner and getting some extra yards for that runner by getting some hands on a third level defender. I just don't see that from these guys. Let alone the ability to do it. I don't see the effort to want to do it. And that is very troublesome for me. Very troublesome. When we start getting into effort and I start calling out heart, that's when we got issues. Technique, you can coach up. Athleticism, you either got it or you don't. But, right, slow feet, you can try to make up for a little bit with high IQ by coaching and retaining, and also trying to have clean, crisp footwork. But I just don't see that. So, if we were going to bargain bin, I'd rather bargain bin shop for average guards that I want to get above average to good. Not below average guys, and I'm just trying to get them to average. Come on. What are we saying here? When you just invested the most money you've ever invested in a Miami Dolphin player. Because guess what? Not every single game, not every single play is going to run as perfectly as you scheme it, as you anticipate it, as you desire it to be. You're going to run into situations where even if you think you got the perfect play, everything's going to get covered and Tua's going to need time. The reason why he's getting nimble is because this guy's realizing, brother, I got about 2.2 seconds. If I don't got that ball out in 2.2 seconds, I got to dip because I can't trust these guys. I mean, say what you want, but even I'll agree with this. Like, what Tua said was a little bit of an indictment. I think he's honest to a fault. I appreciate him for it. But he just, I do think he believes in himself and he trusts in himself that it doesn't matter who's in front of him, he'll get it out. But at the same time, it's not like he was up here being like, oh, those guys will give me all the time I need, blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, brother, I get it out quick enough. It don't matter who's blocking for me. So, hey, I don't know. This offensive line is going to be very interesting, Very, very interesting to see how it all goes. So, hopefully we get it to the level of what's in San Francisco. Let's be honest here. Because I've said it before, I'll say it again. And I brought up and I get what Ballgame's saying with, a coach would want that challenge. We're asking, do you know what kind of miracle we're already asking this man to work, Butch Barry? We're asking him, can you make Liam Eichenberg a good right guard? Think about what we've seen from Liam Eichenberg and think about the kind of miracle that is. All right? But we're like, no, we need more. We need you to be able to make him a good number 2 backup center as well. Plus, we need you to make Lester Cotton a competent enough starter if we need him to go in there, as well as you need to clean up Robert Jones and make sure we can rely on him all season because Isaiah Wynn might not come back. We are literally asking this man to perform as many miracles as Jesus does in the Holy Bible. And without hesitation. Whereas, brother, you could have at least got one average guy at left guard, said, okay, you know what, Wynn's out, Jones ain't cutting it, let's get someone in there, a vet that but then, let him have it, Butch. Because, it's going to get to a point, I'm going to be honest with you. Butch has already earned a lot of our respect. Butch has already earned a lot of our trust as a coach. There's going to get to a certain point where you keep asking this man to perform miracles, and you're not going to see me get on the bandwagon against him when he can only perform 2 out of 3 miracles asked or 4 out of 6 miracles asked. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Because if this interior falls apart, I think this is more of the grocery. Look at it this way: cooking a meal, right? I know we always use Greer, McDaniel in terms of, grocery shop or cooker. Well, let's downsize that a bit. McDaniel and Greer, the shoppers. Butch Berry's the cooker. Brother, you're going to go to a farmer's market and get me all the ingredients? This pasta's going to taste mwah, right? You go to the dollar store and you look for produce at the dollar store, which I know most dollar stores don't sell produce, but I'm just putting that in. Think about that if the dollar store sold produce. And you're saying, yeah, and I want a Michelin star, 5-star meal. You're going to say to them, listen, I can only make so much of this dish good until the ingredients are going to cause this dish to suffer. And that's basically where you're at. So, listen, you already knew what you were getting into with Isaiah Wynn being hurt all the time. You went out and got Patrick Paul to make sure, and you already had Kendall Lamb, so you're good with Terron Armstead's issue, but you knew what the issue with Wynn was. You can't say, even if rehab would have went fine and he didn't have a setback, when was the last time he played a healthy season? So you knew you're getting, you knew you were paddling up that creek, okay? Let alone Aaron Brewer gets hurt. I think they solved that with Andrew Meyer, but Jack Driscoll, I think they thought he was going to stick. He didn't, because he showed so many things on film that were just like, eh. He's back with the Eagles apparently today too, is Jack Driscoll. I think he's going to the practice squad. So, listen, as much as we praise Butch Berry, be prepared to have to defend Butch Berry if things go wrong here, because there's only so much this guy can do. That's all I'm saying. There's only so much guys can do here. All right? Unless we found... Yeah, listen, now, okay? Unless we found the next, Dante Scarnecchia, the next offensive line guru that's going to be here for 20 years, then okay. But, we'll see. Because, listen, say what you will about Bill Belichick, Dante Scarnecchia and Bill Belichick, they never, ever did this kind of stuff and played with this kind of fire when it came to the offensive line. Right? They would pay their top end corner and they would always take care of their offensive line. And if they couldn't, they would draft really well and develop behind it. But they never played games when it came to their offensive line in that dynasty we saw for 20 years. And what happened when Brady said, yo, I'm hitting the bricks, was Dante Scarnecchia is gone. The offensive line starts to struggle. And his weapons, they're bargain bin shopping for his weapons. He had weapons the caliber of Tua, right? That's what I used to always say about Tua, right? Remember, in 2020, Lynn Bowden Jr., and Malcolm Perry, all these guys from 2020 to 2021, right? These jabronis, Mike Gesicki, all these guys, all right? Tua had to make literal chicken salad out of chicken shit. Brady was put in the same position in his final year in New England and said, yeah, I'm out. If this is how you are going to protect me with this offensive line, and this is how you are the weapons you're going to surround me with, peace, I'm out. He took his ball and went home. And where'd he go? To Tampa Bay, who had what? They traded up one spot when they got him to ensure they got Tristan Wirfs, because we were trying to trade up. Right? They took the offensive line seriously. They had a good offensive line in place. They drafted Tristan Wirfs, and they already had all the weapons galore, from Leonard Fournette to Mike Evans to Chris Godwin. Gronk came back. He went from to a situation in 2020 and right to weapons galore. So, just saying. Even the GOAT said, yeah, I'm out. Dante Scarnecchia never played like this. So, just saying. And he didn't let Bill Belichick play like this. So, hey, we'll see. So, let's get into everything. We got a lot to talk about today. Before we do, I just want to say this video, of course, as you can see above my head, it is brought to you by BetUS. All right, go to betus.com. Check the link in the description below. Go set up an account. Go log in, because look at. Here you go. You ready? Select it all. Here we go. Week 1. What do you want to bet on right now? What do we want to do? We taking Miami with the 3.5 favored spread? Do we got over or under 49 total points in the game? There's a lot going on. You can bet on any game coming up this week, plus all of you college football fans. It's got you covered for college football. What a wild weekend this was. And remember, with BetUS, they will match your first 3 deposits up by 125%, up to $2,000, plus 24-hour payouts. Some of the best customer service in the business. Make sure you check out BetUS. And as always, just remember, gamble responsibly. All right. So let's get into everything here. All right. We got quite a bit to cover. And let's start off with news yesterday. Hey, we got to give the Miami Dolphins social media team a little bit of a shout out. I'm going to tell you right now, turn your volume down just a little bit because it's about to smack. But the Miami Dolphins named their team captains for this season. Let's talk about it.
Hey, do we have any insight on the coin flip?
Alrighty then.
Let's go!
You lying. No, you never. You lying. Come on, boy. Come on. A lot more strength than just that. I'm ready. Y'all saw that?
Pound for pound, you're the fastest guy on the team. I think you can stake the claim.
I like you. Listen, you're an honest man. Pound for pound, the best athlete on the team.
Yeah.
I might got a lot more pounds than them.
But that's okay.
But yeah.
I didn't take my damn inhaler today.
So here are your captains for the 2024 season. Tua Tagovailoa, Jaylen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, David Long, Alec Ingold, Terron Armstead, Zach Seiler, Calais Campbell. Now, here is the interesting part about it, all right? Last year, obviously, Christian Wilkins. Last year, first of all, we had 7 captains. This year, we have 8. So we've added a captain. Alec Ingold, Terron Armstead, Cheetah, and Tua, they are returning captains. On top of that, Christian Wilkins, he's gone. Xavier Howard, he's gone. So they're no longer captains. They were captains last year. And Javon Holland is not a captain this year. So David Long, he's a new captain. Calais Campbell is obviously a new captain. Zach Seiler's a new captain as well. So is Jaylen Ramsey. Can I be honest with you? Those are some the dogs of the defense, baby. Now, Javon Holland's a dog, but David Long is your Mike. He is the quarterback of your defense, essentially. Jaylen Ramsey is the leader of this defense. Calais Campbell has walked into the room and has already established himself as a dominant alpha and leader in that locker room. And Zach Seiler, he's earned that spot too. Now, does this have any tie-in to next year and the contract situation with Javon Holland? I actually really don't think so, to be honest with you. You know, I don't at all, actually, if you want my real honest opinion here. I just think David Long Jr.'s job on the field is to be a leader of the defense. Zach Seiler and Calais Campbell, they just make sense, you know? They just do. So I'm not going to read too deep into that in terms of, like, Javon Holland's price tag, but let me say this. Javon Holland seems like he's a leader with play. Not so much vocal raha motivation style. Those other guys are play and verbal motivation type of guys. From Jaylen to Calais to Zach to David Long, that's just what they are. So listen, I'm not gonna knock it. I like it, and we added one. So the interesting thing to me though is, who's you know, you remember when special teams used to, like, a kicker used to be a leader, and they just said, nah, none of us are leading Sanders or Bailey. We're good. Oh my God, classic. So there are your team captains for this season. Now let's keep it going here. All right. I want to get into the depth chart. All right. So let's talk about some few things. And I just got to say this, wrapping up the whole thing regarding the captaincy. Remember a time when Tua Tagovailoa basically stood up in front of the team and said, don't vote for me as a captain and it was basically because he didn't want to spend time with the coaching staff because he didn't like Flores and stuff. My, how far we've come, huh? My, how far we have come. What a time to be alive. All right, here is your depth chart for the Miami Dolphins. All right, so we see here wide receiver Tyreek Hill and Braxton Berrios on one side, Jaylen, Waddle, Malik Washington, and Grant Dubois on the other five guys. Left tackle, Terron Armstead and Patrick Paul. Right tackle, they got Austin Jackson and Kendall Lamb. Left guard, Robert Jones is all alone. That's a scary thought until Wynn comes back. At center, Aaron Brewer and Andrew Myers, number 2. At right guard, Liam Eichenberg is your starting right guard, and Lester Cotton is the backup. So your starting offensive line is Terron Armstead at left tackle, Robert Jones at left guard, Aaron Brewer at center, Liam Eichenberg at right guard, and Austin Jackson at right tackle. Man, if only I had faith in just one of those guards. But hey, it's week 1. You got some weeks to build some faith for me at the guard position. I'm going into this open-minded. Now, the tape's already told me what it's told me, but it's up to them to change the narrative to put in through new tape. Durham Smythe and Julian Hill are tight ends. And notice how they left it as F, right? Now, we know they mean fullback, but Alec Ingold, Jonnu Smith, and Tanner Connor. So here's the interesting thing about that, right? The interesting thing about it just being F and not technically being, not technically being a fullback, right? Because remember, that's also like an H-back slot, right? Remember that. So when you look at what the F position is, right? It's there's no B there. Remember that. All right. So that's basically an H-back slot. So he's those are the tight ends that shift and reset. And start, that's very interesting how they labeled that. Right? Now, that could mean both. That could mean the H-back slot. That could also mean fullback. So, it's interesting how they labeled F, because remember when we did our depth chart, right? When we did our roster projection, all right, there were certain things where it was going to be interesting how everyone was lined up schematically, right? That's what the interesting thing was, how everyone was going to line up. And when we did our preview show, all right, remember, I had the slot receiver labeled as the F receiver, right? So now they've totally just embraced it as the H-back slot role, because you could technically you could label, so many different labels for that third receiver, right? You can have Y is usually the tight end. F is basically in the Shanahan offense, that's basically what they label the third receiver on the field. But they seem to be embracing the H-back slot role with that. So that's very interesting to me. If you go back and you check our 53-man roster prediction on offense, I have the X receiver, the Z receiver, the Y, and I have the F out of the slot. So there you go, the F receiver. And it's interesting because Jonnu can play in line. He can play big slot. He can play on the boundary. There's so much stuff. He can play out of the backfield, right? And it's interesting they labeled Tanner Conner as his backup. Very, very interesting. Running back, 2 starting running backs on this depth chart. Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. So remember, there's like 12 positions on this depth chart when really there's only going to be obviously 11 out there, right? No surprise at quarterback, obviously, with Tua. On the flip side, going to defense, Zach Sealer and Benito Jones are your starting defensive tackles, along with Calais Campbell. Brandon Peely and Deshaun Hand are the backup. So you got Benito and Peely that can play nose. They can play 1. They can flex out to 3s, basically, right? So they can play all along that front. And then you got a guy like Calais who can go all the way from a 0. You could flex him out as a 5 if you want to, right? So very, very flexible front. Jaylen Phillips is starting along with Emmanuel Ogbah based on this depth chart. Now, I wouldn't necessarily lock that in. But what does it also tell you? That it looks like, let's say they're going to massage Jaylen into the roster. Quentin Bell's probably in for him. It's Bell and Ogbah. Because you got Chop and Mo backing up Ogbah. So, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Because remember, with Anthony Weaver in this defense and what they want to do, basically, right? Remember, they're going to use, the Sams and the rush linebackers are going to be the ones just coming most of the time. So, very interesting to see how that all works out. No real other big surprises here. Obviously, Ramsey, Fuller, Kohu at the 2 boundary corners, and nickel. At safety, Javon Holland, Elijah Campbell, Jordan Poyer, Marcus May. Patrick Morris on PUP, right? PUP IR. So, yeah. And they got Needham on the practice squad, so if they want to elevate a nickel guy, they got one. Storm Duck, the backup on the boundary. It's interesting they labeled Sear Neal as a boundary guy instead of like a nickel guy, considering how much they were using him in the nickel in the preseason. So I'm surprised they didn't label Storm Duck as Ramsey's backup with, like, hypothetically, you think Cam Smith is in there too. And then, Sear Neal as a nickel, but they can all shift around. You're going to see Jalen Ramsey in the nickel. You're going to see Jalen Ramsey in the safety looks, nickel looks. You're going to see him really shifting around. And same with Fuller, right? Fuller can play the nickel as well. Don't think of those guys as just locked down. They're just boundary guys. Think of them as being very, very flexible, hybrid chess pieces in this defense. And then Other interesting thing here too, obviously, when you go to the bottom here, the kick returners and punt return, Braxton Berrios, he has the first spot. On kick return, they have Devin Achane and Malik Washington as well. And then they have Malik as the backup punt returner. So it looks like they might give, I hope they don't give Braxton all those reps. I really don't. Let Malik go, baby. Let him fly. All right? Let him fly. Let him spread his wings. Please. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. I appreciate all of you for coming through. So, let's keep it rolling. I want to read this for you guys. All right? So, this is from The Athletic. And the Miami Dolphins, they aren't seen as a threat league-wide in January just quite yet, apparently. So, intel on all 32 teams, Russ skepticism, Devontae Adams trade talk, and more. After speaking with dozens of sources around the NFL this summer, I compiled intel on all 32 teams. The information ranges from a broad overview of how our team could fare this season to other more specific tidbits regarding particular players and roster construction. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get right to it. So they got the Bills. Let's just skip to the Miami Dolphins here. Miami Dolphins. The league is down on the Dolphins, according to a poll of league coaches and executives that will be released this week by The Athletic. So the league is down on us right now. That's why you're seeing the Jets being favored right now. That probably explains why, because I had someone ask me today, hey, why do you think the media is just pushing the Jets? There you go. There's your answer. While they're 20-14 with gaudy offensive numbers in head coach Mike McDaniel's first 2 seasons, they're also 0-2 in the playoffs. They're fun, and McDaniel's doing some innovative things in Miami, but the feeling among rival teams is the Dolphins need to start proving it against higher quality competition before they will be viewed as a threat in January. So there you go, right there. I mean, now 2022, we lost our starting quarterback. And then 2023, we lost half the defense and half the offensive line. So I think context really matters here, not just looking at the box score. So, but listen, can you argue it? That's the thing. Like, could you, I mean, this team hasn't had postseason success in terms of a win in 24 years. It's fair for the doubts to linger around this team. Like I said with the offensive line, right? I said the tape's out on Lester Cotton, Liam Eichenberg, and Robert Jones for me. It's up to them with new tape to prove me wrong or prove that old tape as no longer source material. Well, now it is up to the Miami Dolphins. They are the creators of their own narrative here. It's up to them to change how they're viewed as a threat. Because listen, this team can blow your socks off any given weekend. Problem is, we just need to see more consistently in the December and January months. And remember, Tua has a winning record in December, right? Tua's 9-7 in December. The problem is when you get into his January record, right? Because he's 1-3 in January. So technically, over January and December, he's 10-10. Right? But he's 9-7 in December, 1-3 in January. That January record needs to change, and it needs to change real quick for this team to be taken as serious threats. Now, that doesn't mean teams are taking us lightly, because they're smarter than that. But, just saying. So, listen, I think this team's legit. I think, you look at the Bills, they look like they're going to regress unless Josh Allen needs to turn into Patrick Mahomes. You know, you guys know how I felt all offseason. I ain't buying this Jets hype for one single solitary second, and I can't wait to take that victory lap when they fall flat on their face. Just saying. And then the Patriots are the Patriots. You know, everyone knows I'm a Drake May fan coming out of college. I just hate the situation that kid's in. Even Brandon Aiyuk. Did you hear the report? The Patriots offered the most money of anyone who talked to Brandon Aiyuk's agent, but Brandon Aiyuk was like, I'm good. Because winning still matters to the guy. So, you know, I think we have a path. I think this team, I don't even know if you're going to need 12 wins to win this division this year. You might need 11. Now, remember, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, regular season roundtable with myself, Dudley Durong, Richmond Webb, Mr. Ballgame, Neil Driscoll, Martin Ukbai, Kevin Dern. Brittany's going to be joining us this year, too. We're going to give all the predictions, and I have us with more than 11 wins. It's crazy how a lot of us had similar outlooks. You'll see all tomorrow, but make sure you tune in. It's always a good time. So, yeah, we're a threat. We are definitely a threat. It's like the boy who cried wolf right now, right? Got to see it to believe it. We've screamed number one offense, number two offense the last 2 years, but in crunch time, it hasn't been a number one, number two offense. Hasn't played like it. So yesterday, Mike McDaniel provided some injury updates. Let's go into that. So Dolphins receivers Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle have been limited by injuries recently. Will practice, and they did on Monday, McDaniel said. Hill's been dealing with a finger issue, while Waddle has been sidelined with a lower body injury. Neither has had any setback. Both are on track to play in Sunday's opener against Jacksonville at Hard Rock. Meanwhile, Aaron Brewer and defensive tackle Benito Jones are practicing this week, and there's hope that they'll be ready to play in Sunday's opener, but McDaniel's giving no guarantees, saying his crystal ball is broke. It's anticipated that Brewer should be able to handle snapping with his hand injury. McDaniel said Eichenberg has been filling in at center in Brewer's absence. McDaniel said, I feel great about our starting offensive line and contingencies. So, he said he addressed some other stuff when he was spoken to. He said he learned that Stephen Ross wanted to give him a contract extension when McDaniel had dinner at Ross's home a couple weeks ago. He said he ate all of his steak. On the Jaguars defense on Miami faces on Sunday, including skill pass rusher Trevon Walker and Josh Hines Allen, who combined for 27.5 sacks between two of them last year. He called them a very talented group. Notice how they come off the ball, how they play with consistent technique and relentless strain. It's pretty obvious from the minimal game tape that we've watched. With 4 skilled running backs on the 53-man roster, McDaniel wants to get everyone involved and let the game take its course and then ride the hot hand late. The Dolphins have plenty of options with their 4th and 5th receivers on Sunday behind Hill, Waddle, and Berrios. They could use a combination of 2 young players like Malik Washington and Grant Dubois, or 2 veterans on the practice squad in Robbie Chosen and Dwayne Eskridge. Eric Isakama, who's been dealing with a minor injury, is also on the practice squad. So there are a couple different directions you can go, McDaniel said. We will take advantage of the extra day of practice to shape the direction we can go. I feel very good about where that room is at because of existing assets we have, and people were able to add to it to fit the mode of what we're trying to do. Those people in recent days were Chosen and Eskridge. Adding Tim Boyle to the practice squad, there was good overlap tape in previous years. This preseason, I think he did a great job. It helped previously having personal connections with Bobby Slowick in Houston, and Matt LaFleur in Green Bay were fired up to have him. My friend, McDaniel, fired up to have Tim Boyle. You got to get out more, my brother. I don't know what else to say. Fired up. I'm surprised you can get a spark. Jeez Louise. But good news. Sounds like Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Benito Jones, and Aaron Brewer are probably going to be good to go this weekend. So that is some definite good news for sure. Man, and I like his idea of the running back. It's time to just roll with the hot hand because there's so much talent there. And I do think they are going to elevate a veteran receiver. I really do. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's Robbie Chosen and they give Dwayne Eskridge a few weeks to get entrenched in the scheme, in the system, and then they move from there. Dwayne Eskridge is going to get a shot this year, though. I'm telling you right now. So, man, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So, can't wait, man. Can't wait. All right, I wanted to talk about this because it's an interesting little takeaway from ESPN. Chop Robinson has a very interesting mentor. Look at his mentor. Dolphins rookie Chop Robinson taking tips from Terron Armstead. The Miami Dolphins have no shortage of veteran pass rushers from whom rookie Chop Robinson can learn. From Jaylen, Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and Manuel Ogba have all found success at the NFL level and have helped him acclimate to the pro game. But last week, an unexpected veteran approached him after practice, Terron Armstead. He noticed certain blocking techniques giving him trouble. The next day, Armstead said Robinson was already applying what he had taught him the day before. Color him impressed. Robinson, the Dolphins' first-round pick in this year's draft, joined a situation that on paper didn't require him to make an immediate impact, but with Phillips and Chubb still rehabbing season-ending injuries from 2023, Robinson received additional reps throughout the offseason. Chubb will start the season on the physically unable to perform list. So for at least the first 4 games of the season, Miami will rely on Robinson to help bolster its pass rush. Just getting an offensive perspective, especially against one of the greatest, just learning from him, Robinson said of Armstead. I go against him in practice, and he's doing things that I've never seen before from an offensive lineman. He gave me tips on how I could work on that. I can't tell the tips, but it definitely worked. I used it today, and it definitely worked. I appreciate him for that. I'm just learning. See, that's why Terron Armstead's a captain, baby. The defensive end from Penn State drew comparisons to another former Nittany Lion, Micah Parsons, particularly after running a 4.48 second 40-yard dash at the combine. His production didn't match his traits, though, with 11.5 sacks in 3 collegiate seasons. Robinson attributed his low sack numbers to a lack of technical consistency, particularly with his hand placement, which, what did I say in my evaluation and scouting report? You see it all over the tape. Throughout the draft process, however, Dolphins general manager Chris Brewer was more impressed by Robinson's traits than he was concerned about his production. His disruption numbers are all very high, Greer said in April. For us working through the analytics, watching him, what he doesn't contribute to sacks, people always want to. The guy that comes to mind for me would be Daniel Hunter. Had 4 career sacks coming out of college, and he's become a really good player for the league. Speed helps, and Robinson has plenty of it, but part of Armstead's lesson to the rookie was that speed doesn't win your matchups, not by itself at least. The goal, Armstead said, is for Robinson to develop a well-rounded game when coupled with his speed would make him nearly unblockable. When you can add in other things, when you got the speed and the power, then the movement, you know what I mean, Armstead said? Versatility is the hardest thing, not just one thing. If you've got one trick, you're going to have a quiet day. The early returns on Robinson's offseason are positive. Tua Tagovailoa named him the Dolphins' most improved player over the last few months. He said, I think Chop has grown a lot from the first time he's got here. Tagovailoa said earlier throughout OTAs, although I was only here for a certain amount of time in OTAs, but I think he's done really good, and he's earned a lot of respect from the guys in the locker room, from a lot of veterans. So I'll be curious to see what he does to help us win some games this year. The Dolphins host the Jacksonville Jags in Week 1. Phillips is activated from the PUP list midway through the preseason, but it remains to be seen whether Miami will keep him on a snap count. Either way, Robinson figures to rotate frequently as one of the Dolphins' top 3 pass rushers. When he's on the field, he feels confident that he'll be able to apply the advice he's received from veteran teammates and feels lucky to be in the position he's in. I'm blessed to be here. It's a whole bunch of vets that are not selfish here, he said. They want everybody to be great. We're all a team, so everybody just wants the best out of everybody. Armstead is the best, so I appreciate him. God, I love you. Listen, this is why a guy like Armstead is invaluable. In living up to that captaincy right away. I mean, you could sit there and just say, whatever. You know, I don't got to teach this kid the tricks of the trade. I don't want to give him a chance to make me look bad in practice. But Armstead passing the knowledge down to the youngster and helping us develop a potentially very special pass rusher. Marino's Goat says, reason drafting soon, have to pick Debo or Aiyuk. I'm taking Debo. Especially if I had no injury concerns, Debo all day. Shout out to Brad Martin for gifting 5 memberships. Darth Logan, Gregory Smith, Zoboy Fresh, Mike Wright, and Britton Watkins all gained that. Shout out to the homie Brad Martin. I hate to have to do it to you in fantasy football, but I'm going to have to. Yesterday, in our first fantasy league, and this is never a good sign in the end, but I had not the NA plus draft, the best draft in the league, and I'm actually projected to go perfect this season. I'm not projected to lose a single game, so we'll see how it all works out. Shout out to everyone who's in the draft tonight. We got the second league drafting tonight around 9 p.m. So shout out to all of you. I appreciate all of you for coming through and showing some love. All right. I got a couple things I want to go over here as well. There's some interesting stuff here. So, let's get into a few little side notes here. So the Dolphins, they went ahead and they added Derek McLendon to the practice squad. I believe that's the 17th and final spot now taken. So it's over. We basically got it all filled up. Remember, Chris Brooks, he reverted to the practice squad right now. Yeah, this is the 17th and final spot. He had 14 tackles for loss and 8 sacks during his time in college. He had a preseason sack for the Panthers this year. So, adding another body. Also, the Dolphins had worked out Ty Shelby. He worked out today per league source. And he has another workout scheduled for Thursday. So, but hey, we've already added the 17th and final roster spot. So unless they're moving someone to IR, I don't know where that's going. I don't see where that's going. All right. I wanted to show you guys this today because everyone always talks about Tua throwing deep. Check this one out. Shout out to Warren Sharp of Sharp Analytics. Look at this. Of 34 QBs in the last 2 years on deep attempts of 30-plus air yards, Tua Tagovailoa ranks number 1 in EPA per attempt, number 2 in yards per attempt, number 3 in accuracy, number 5 in success rate, and number 5 in completion rate. And if you want to see that all on a chart, here is his chart throwing that deep over the last 2 years. I mean, that's not a lot of incompletions. Now, there are 5 interceptions, but 5 interceptions to about 10 touchdowns. So 2-to-1 ratio, basically. Crazy. When you break it down. And people try to tell us Tua Tagovailoa can't throw deep. It's absolutely embarrassing that people still try to use that argument. It really is. It really honestly is. I don't know what else to say. Honestly embarrassing that we got to hear that. If you didn't happen to see ESPN, they polled NFL executives to predict award winners, MVPs, and et cetera, et cetera. They all picked Tyreek Hill to be Offensive Player of the Year. Tua Tagovailoa, he received votes for the MVP. Patrick Mahomes was chosen to be MVP, but Tua Tagovailoa, he received the 6th most votes. So it went Mahomes, Prescott, Allen, Burrow, Jordan Love, then Tua. Yes, no Herbert. While the Offensive Player of the Year, Tyreek Hill, was projected. And if you didn't see it, and this should tell you how big of a role Achane is expecting this year. Achane, all right? They were talking to him, and he was talking about receiving. He says he wants to have his 1,000 yards rushing this season, but he also wants to rack it up catching the football. And shout out to Austin Clark for telling Brandon Peely last week that only 160 people get this job. And so Peely is now grateful for his job. But Achane, he wants over 1,000-yard rushing. This could be a 1,400, 1,500-yard all-purpose season for Achane. Achane could put up 1,000 yards rushing and like another 300 to 400, maybe even a little bit more receiving. This could be a big year for Achane. And shout out to ESPN for giving some respect. And just in case people don't believe me, all right, just so you can see quick, there you go. Patrick Mahomes is chosen to be MVP, but you see Prescott 2, Allen 3, Burrow 4, Jordan Love 5, Tua 6. So Tua getting some MVP love. Love to see it, eh? Love to see it. No other Dolphins gained votes or made any lists like for a defensive rookie of the year. Chop didn't make it or anything like that. So, yeah, there you go. And Mike McDaniel didn't even make the list of guys getting votes for coach of the year, which is shocking to me. Because if you win the division, Mike McDaniel's winning coach of the year, especially if you win the AFC. So I thought he would be on there, but nope. Anyways, guys, I'm going to be live tomorrow night, 8 p.m., regular season roundtable, season predictions, bold projections, everything under the sun. Me, Richmond Webb, Mr. Ballgame, Dougley Durong, Neil Driscoll, Martin Ukbai, Kevin Dern, Brittany. It's going to be a good one. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night. Thursday, live for Fin Too Deep. Friday, our first preview show of the season. And then Sunday, we are going to have the live reaction to the game, and then that lull between the end of the 4 o'clock game and the beginning of Sunday Night Football. We're going to have the post-game show, so make sure you tune in. Fins up. I'll see y'all on the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.